FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network, and I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is 12/18/19. Well, you know there's a crisis in American education because Johnny can't read, write, or do arithmetic. And, well, all learning really starts with reading. Until you learn how to read, you can't really do much else. You're kind of useless to the world and useless to yourself. And we've created generations of these people who are programmed to lose, at least lose when it comes to being a productive member, a prosperous member, a successful member of society. Well, maybe that's changing now. Well, first, as always, let us know what you think. Email us, kl@kerrylutz.com. Our good friend, Bruce Deckard-Price, is on with us now. You can find him at improve-education.org. He wrote a great article that you can find in American Thinker, and the title, Bruce, is K-12 Phonics is Winning. So phonics, we should talk about that because many of you might not be familiar with what phonics is. Just briefly, Bruce, tell us what phonics is.
Well, let me tell you sight words, which is almost easy. It's just take an emblem of any kind, scratch some lines on a paper, and then say that's pronounced boulevard. See, there's no phonetic information, no way to remember that. Every word just thought over, it's a struggle. They basically make these kids learn the whole English language like that, one chicken scratch after another. With phonics, once you get the idea that a B is a birth sound, it's always a birth sound. I mean, you go into the middle of a word, you can go anywhere, and it's like when they give all these symbols in articles, it irritates me because I'm not really good at it. But let me tell you how to know what a B is. You take any word that you're comfortable with, like bat, like a baseball bat, and then you drop the at, and then you got bat. That's that sound at the beginning that makes it bat. Because until that, it's bub and then plus at. I mean, it's amazing, like Tinker Toys. Once you get used to this, I didn't learn any of this until I was middle-aged, but I mean, you can, like, let's say you got a word like ick, I-C-K, you put now I get myself in trouble. Let's see, R, Rick, like a man's name or a pile of wood, I think, and then you put a T in front of that and you get trick. And these things, you can add them up and take the sounds off. So it's very logical. The main thing they have against phonics is they say English is not phonetic. And I see it all the time. And I'm saying it's 100% phonetic because a non-phonetic word would be like you put some chicken scratch in there, like in the other thing, and you say it's whatever you say it is. I mean, it's. I'm sorry, you have to stop me. I can go on for this forever because this is the big fight.
This is
60, 75 years, and I don't know why the country puts up with it. But there's 50 million functional illiterates. We got all these males, especially men, who end up on Ritalin in the 6th or 7th grade because they can't actually read and they misbehave. And Sue Dixon, who's so wonderful on all this subject, she says, boys will pick fights where they think the teacher might call on them and they don't want anybody to know. It's a very, very humiliating and embarrassing thing. It's crushing. It's the best word for it. When you're second,
really
third, fourth grade, and everybody thinks you're deficient and defective, and that's horrible. I don't know how to get away with it. I mean, it's like the CNN today carrying on. Every day they're lying to us, and that's basically the way the education establishment has been running the country for a long time.
Yeah, and very true. And we see it has a record of failure. So, if a child becomes proficient in reading through phonics in grade 1 through 6, let's say, what are the odds of them succeeding versus someone who is using the whole language method, which, as we discussed, is useless? How does that affect their chances of success in life?
Well, let me say, first of all the experts on the phonics side say you can learn to read in the first grade. They say it's easy. They use that word easy. I ran into it several times. I made a little video called Reading is Easy. I couldn't believe it because the public schools are saying, oh, it's so difficult. We can barely teach anybody to read. And blah, blah, blah. Anyway, there's no comparison. It's two different worlds. It's a dark world when you don't know how to read. It's unbelievable. It's like you said all that at the beginning. I mean, it's absolutely true. It's horrible. I don't know how these people are so cold-hearted. These top educator peoples up at Harvard and Columbia, and I guess the Department of Education, and then there's all these front groups, National Council of Teachers of English, and all. It goes on and on. You hardly know anybody still got a regular job out in the real world because they're all working somewhere promoting phony ideas in education. It's just a totally remarkable thing. We let a bunch of let's call them infiltrators, foreigners, subversives, sneak in. Starting after the Communist International, 1921, and they just anything that wasn't defended, they just moved in and took it over. And again, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but Sanders and Warren and so on, they started calling themselves socialists and talking about it. So now it's much easier because we know how extreme these people are. A person like Warren said, "Oh yeah, we're going to have free medical care for everyone, including illegal aliens." That's such an amazing thing to say. A person who thinks like that is probably quite comfortable with the idea. Okay, we'll just keep the kids from reading.
Yeah. So, and we go back to this guy Dewey, right? Is it Thomas Dewey?
Wait a minute. Thomas is the. No, wait a minute. Thomas Dewey is the Republican guy who almost became president.
Right. He was the governor of New York. Well, whatever. Dewey. There's actually
John Dewey is the guy who's a socialist who started us down this road. Right. We give him credit because he's the big shot.
And there's a monument to him in Key West, Florida. He lived there. Nobody who lives in Key West, Florida is ever coming up with an idea that is going to be beneficial to humanity. Trust me on that one, Bruce, because it's a party town, and really people don't really concentrate on improving things. Not these year-round intellectual residents. Trust me, Ernest Hemingway, he only had one thing in mind: is where's the closest bar, and that's kind of what Key West has been like ever since. But in all seriousness, he started us down this road. And Bruce, how long do you think, if we really start teaching phonics uniformly in all or most of the schools in the country, how long would it take to see an educational turnaround?
I think it could happen somewhat fast, but also I don't think that can happen so breezily as you say. These people are it's like the Japanese in those islands in the Pacific in 1946, 47, where they're still fighting. Mm-hmm. That's the way the education establishment is. They dig in. They're hardcore. They amaze me. I was thinking about the best way to tell you is what's his name, Bill Ayers, who was Obama's buddy, and that's the guy who was blowing up banks and trying to overthrow the country in the 60s, and now he's a professor of education. Anyway, he said, candidly enough, I get up every day thinking, is this the day I destroy America and overthrow capitalism? Yeah. It's for normal people, they don't think like that. These people are obsessive, hardcore types, and they locked on to sight words because they knew that was the way they could make the single biggest hit, even though they might be taking a lot of bad publicity, and there's all these reading wars and these debates going on. And I got an article right now on my Facebook page, and these people come on, these older lady teachers, say, "Oh, I don't know about this. I think, I say, geez, please, woman, get out of the way and let us make progress." There are so many people who don't want to make progress. They'd like to just stay stuck in a rut. Phonics is kind of empirically obvious if you just look at it for 20 minutes. And because Greek is that, and Latin is that, and all the European languages, and I believe Hebrew is like that, and that's where it started, there in that end of the Mediterranean. And somebody got the idea that with a symbol you could make a sound as opposed to a picture, because all the other languages start at the very beginning. You had a person, so you drew a circle with legs on it or something. You say, well, that means man. And there's a logic and a little pictographic quality, and even probably in Japanese today. I mean, I wouldn't be able to. Oh yeah, I do know one Chinese symbol where there's a symbol for a roof, which is a horizontal line, and then a symbol for a woman, which is whatever it is, I could draw it in a second for you. And if a woman is inside her house, that means peace. So you have these two emblems which both have a pictographic quality, and then together they make a new one which means peace. So that language is easier to remember one by one than our language is, and their language is much smaller. So that's why this approach works with Chinese and Japanese and Korean, whereas English has so many little words. It's just nuts. I don't know how much you want to go on this, but I thought about this years ago. When I was growing up, they used to say no ticky, no laundry, and that's kind of nowadays they say
that's racist.
Racist or something. But here's the point. It's very beautiful. That's the way the Japanese language works. It's like programming. No A, no B, no ticket, no laundry. Whereas we have to say, if you do not have your ticket, you cannot have your laundry. It's the same exact thing. They say it with about no is repeated twice. So no ticky, comma, no laundry. So you got ticky, laundry, and the word no. And they say the whole thing that we say. So that's really not a racist thing at all. That's the way the Chinese language is structured. Is much more is condensed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, but you know what's interesting, Bruce, is English is the world's language now. I've been in Asia and I've seen people who neither of them, one's from Europe, the other's from Asia, neither is English speaker. It's not their first language, but I've seen them communicating in English, and it's the language of commerce, everything else. So you would think that people in the United States would actually have an advantage, it being their native language, but it just hasn't really worked out like that, has it?
Well, you mean for travelers or for people here?
For people here in business, with the rest of the world.
Well, I think they're having an advantage, and it's an advantage for tourists. They should tell kids, and they don't sell schools don't sell what they're doing, but any kid who can speak English can go anywhere in the world and find somebody to help him out. And most people don't have that advantage. They don't have that comfort to know you can just wander around in Africa and probably somebody somewhere will speak English. And anyway, so it is an advantage, yes. And English is because of the power of the British Empire for 100 years, and then the power of the American Empire for 100 years, so to speak. English got into everything. And I understand it's a language of airports, and it's also pretty much the language of drug companies. I mean, look at all the chemicals that you see in the ads all the time, and all of them have got a trade name and a chemical name. Like ibuprofen is Advil. And it's unbelievable. Imagine if you were another language. What do you do with all that? You're going to create a new word in your language for all of these words? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, English has more flexibility to create these new words. You don't see it in French, you don't see it in German, and you really don't see it in Asian languages either. So getting back to the phonics, though, because I find it fascinating. When I learned how to read, I learned phonics. I'm almost sure of that. My kids learned whole language, but I think 2 out of my 3 kids, we had taught how to read before they even got into school, and they were doing phonics. Unconsciously, we taught them phonics. I never even thought about, well, should I use the whole language method or not? And they picked up on it really easily. The third kid, she didn't really read well till the end of first grade, but the other 2 were real readers before they even got in through kindergarten. So really, how do we come up with this thing? Because it seems to me it's natural to teach people how to sound words out. I mean, I remember, we're talking about this. I remember in elementary school, and I had my own issues because I wanted to read from right to left, not left to right. But I remember, sounding words out. They would say, sound it out, right? That's like one of the basics of phonics, sound out the word. And yet we lost our way here because we're so smart and we come up with all these psychological analyses and everything else. And yet we took a giant step backwards.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Today's show is brought to you by U.S. Gold Corp. U.S. Gold Corp is a U.S.-focused gold exploration and development company advancing high-potential projects in Wyoming and Nevada. U.S. Gold Corp has consolidated a district on Nevada's productive Cortex trend and is advancing the Copper King project towards production in Wyoming, led by a team of prolific company builders and renowned explorers, including Dave Mathewson, who is directly responsible for several major Nevada gold discoveries. U.S. Gold Corp is well-capitalized and has an extremely tight share structure with less than 20 million shares outstanding and trades on the NASDAQ, a major exchange, under the ticker symbol USAU. To learn more, go to usgoldcorp.gold. That's usgoldcorp.gold.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Well, are you asking me a time? Yes, we agree completely. And everybody who knows the subject agrees. But I mean, as I say, just imagine a whole bunch of Stalinists running our education establishment. I don't understand it. You have to be so cold-blooded to take literacy away from a kid. I mean, there's just nothing more vicious. The best way this was told to me was this woman who was tutoring a boy who was 12 years old up in Canada. And he looks at her and says, just so you know, I can't read. I'm stupid. And and both of us were almost crying on the phone talking about this kid. And I'm thinking, 12 years old, and this is his life. He can't read, and he thinks that's what they do to these kids. And that's why Ritalin is so big. And I think there's a story here I'm working on in my own way that this ratio in college is 57% female and 43% male, and that's very abnormal and very unhealthy. And I believe it's a consequence of the fact that boys resist the irrationality of sight words, and they finally someday in the second grade or the seventh grade, whatever it is, inside their mind, they say, screw this, I'm not putting up with it anymore. You humiliate in front of the class, and I'm out. And then after that point, they become really half-baked students, and whether they announce it out loud or they just become cut up in the class, but they put them on Ritalin. So some of these boys, and they don't learn to read, and they don't have a high school diploma. So how do you get up to 57% male? It's disgusting. I mean, female, it's disgusting. And what's interesting about this is that the girls have now been moved, same boys and girls genetically, but women have been moved up socially, because now they dress better. They've got a college degree. They know how to go out, and they can't marry the same guys because those guys are now driving pickup trucks and wearing blue jeans, and building houses. Yep. It might be making plenty of money, but, the social stuff comes into this. I mean, and the guy will typically hide it, but at some point the woman finds out, and then the relationship breaks up. So where the women are going to find, they got the college degree, but where they're going to find the husband?
Hey, do you remember there was a course for kids who couldn't learn how to read in school? It was called Hooked on Phonics, and it was very successful. I mean, it was sold tens of millions of copies. The course, and it was a very simple, easy course. And really, with phonics, anybody can learn to read. And once you learn how to read and you're good at it, that gets rid of so much of the frustration in the educational process. I remember for myself, it took me quite a while to learn how to read. I don't think I was proficient really until second grade. And that frustration, inability to learn, really carried through my whole education up until I got to college. So I can only imagine how these kids must feel, because I still could read. It gave me a bad feeling about myself not being able to pick it up quickly.
Yeah, that's it. You've sampled it, not deeply apparently, because you were recovering, but that's what they do. They devastate these boys. The girls want the class to succeed. They're kind of, maybe I shouldn't say it, but anyway, they're kind of natural born socialists. They want the team to work. They want the teacher to look good. They don't take the stuff personally. They just struggle along with sight words. But the boys will try to do that. But, at some point, it's very difficult to learn. Even if you stayed at just 100-word language, slave language, with just 200 words in it, a lot of people would not be able to master those 200 sight words. 200 sight symbols, whatever you're. Like I think of you're in finance, so you think of the currency symbols. How many of those do you know?
Well, I know a lot because it's my business, but most people, if they know 2 or 3, it's a lot.
Yeah, but in your case, it's still 25 to 50, isn't it?
Yeah, I probably know 15 to 20, 25 symbols. But yeah, I get your point.
So your boss comes in, or somebody's boss comes in and says, "Okay, we've got another 100. We're going to be doing now." Well, that's the way it is for the kids in school. Oh, they might get through that 15 or 20 or 30, but it's the next 50 or the next 100, and then the next 100, the next 100, and the brain just can't take it. It's just the new ones, crowd out the old ones.
Yeah. So effectively, phonics is learning a code, right? The code of how words
sound. Well, that's what they use. I hate that kind of jargon, but yes, that's what they say. Crack the code, decode the black. Yeah,
it really is. Yeah, but I know what you're saying, because it makes it like mysterious and all that. But phonics now allows you to unlock the mystery of the language.
Yeah, there's no mystery how to do it and everything. I mean, and you're right. It's the main thing. I read an article in passing a year ago where a guy said, "Look, once a kid learns to read, he can educate himself. He doesn't even have to go to school after that." I mean, that's a striking thing to say, and it's not going to happen. But the fact that he saw that, conversely, if he doesn't learn to read, it doesn't matter how much he goes to school, he's never going to get very far.
Yeah. And
that's what the left seems to know, and they're willing to stick it out.
Yeah. So I
mean, that article that I wrote is optimistic, because I found 4 articles in major places that said, phonics is winning. Phonics is the only way to go. If anybody looks at that article, I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I mean, you can go right now into Google and enter, sight words, high school. There's a couple of them in Kentucky, strangely enough, right up near Cincinnati in the top part of Kentucky.
Is that right?
And they got the whole sight word list right on their website. And if you look at the words they're memorizing in the 6th grade, you'll say, wait a minute, the kid's 12 and this is where he is? 2-syllable words? He's already lost. He's totally lost. By the way, I'm trying to think what I can tell people. there's an article on well, you can just Google it. It's called Preemptive Reading, and it'll tell people in 2 pages how phonics works.
Yeah, and
I picked an unusual name like that because nobody else has ever used the word preemptive. So preemptive reading. It's on my site, but I think just preemptive reading, those 2 words will get you to this article, and then it's like a 2-3 page introduction to phonics and the learning to read.
It's interesting.
There's another thing that Don Potter and a couple other people have decided that I'm only saying this for the hardcore who might be listening. Let's see. Hazel Loring was a school teacher 50, 60 years ago, and she created her own little 20-page phonics program called Blend Phonics. And Don Potter's giving it away. He's like a phonics guru and a fanatic, but phonics like I'm a fanatic about everything else. And he endorsed, he says, Blend Phonics is the cheapest, fastest, easiest way to go. But even easier than that is to look at my article, Preemptive Reading, and that will explain to you the basics without getting into all the details of each of the different letters, because it's really the same problem in each case. I mean, it's hard for me to tell you how the W sounds. I told you, we take the word W-O-N-E, it's going to sound like O-N-E. And there's English has taken stuff from every language. It's 500, 600 years old. It's amazing we can do with it as well as we do. But the sight word people want to discredit English, so they constantly talk about how it doesn't make sense and the rules don't work. They use that phrase, the rules don't work.
Yeah.
I mean, look up sight words anywhere on the internet, and you'll get the propaganda from the other side, the dark side. Oh, English has these things, and if you just memorize 200 sight words, well, then you already know how to read 30 of the most, I don't know what they say, 30% of the most important words, but it doesn't work like that. If you can't read one word every paragraph, you can't read.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. I mean, I could just go on and on. But the main thing they teach these kids is guessing. If a kid guesses, he can't read. In fact, one of the things I spent a lot of time thinking about was I'm always trying to give tools to ordinary parents. You can show the kid a newspaper, and if the kid leaves a word out, guesses wildly, flips the word, or adds in a word that isn't there, that kid can't read. He's a victim of sight words, and you have to immediately start teaching him phonics.
Hey, and
it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking. Hooked on Phonics is still around. And
yes, and people speak highly of it. I don't know anything bad about it, except I'm sure that sight word fanatics go around. They're trolls. The education establishment uses all its people as trolls. They go on and leave bad comments about things.
It's gotten
so
hundreds.
You never know when you run into something bad, whether it's somebody's sincere belief or whether, in fact, it's a troll.
Hey, it's gotten hundreds of awards here, Bruce. And now, it used to be just booklets. Now it's multi-device. It could be on your tablet, your computer, your smartphone, as well as the books. You still got the books, but they've got videos that explain it to you. So how anybody could, and this leads to the whole concept of homeschooling. All right. One of the reasons why homeschooling is so effective is because presumably the parent is teaching the child to learn how to read the same way you did and I did, which was using phonics, sounding out words. And really, it's so simple, and it makes sense because then combine that with what you said, that once a child knows how to read, they really don't need to go to school. So they're reading. There's all these programs online. I mean, look, we could all become Oxford scholars now, pretty much, Bruce, with what's online. Certainly Ivy League or Stanford, all of these fine schools have got all their programs up there. Maybe you don't get a degree, but when you look today, a degree is not worth what it used to be. But at least if you know how to read, you're proficient and you can do okay in school, then the choice becomes yours rather than by default what's left for you to pursue.
This is exciting stuff, Terry. I mean, really, I'm glad you had me on, and I'm glad you're working on this and you care about it, because 1,000 people like you and the whole thing would be solved. The problem is the media's on the wrong side, and they're very silent, and the foundations don't speak up, the universities don't speak up. I mean, it drives me crazy. I mean, it's like this kid's dying of some disease that we can cure, and the media is saying, "Oh, well, we don't know, but we don't know anything, but we don't have got anything to say about that." By the way, may I mention my book?
Yeah, please. Yeah, I was going to get there, but tell us.
It's very memorable. Saving K-12, Saving K-12. I've been pronouncing it K-12 because I like the sound, and I was with some people who were teachers. They said, "No, it's K through 12." I got to say Saving K on my own book, K through 12. I like K-12.
That's a little shortcut.
Saving K-12, and it's the best short explanation of the whole mess. That's the subtitles. What happened to our public schools? How do we fix them?
Hey,
and it's not just this. It's also all of math. Common Core math is a jungle, absolutely unmatched. Yeah. And they use this thing called constructivism to teach everything from the kindergarten up to 12th grade, so nobody learns anything.
Yeah, new math.
I write a lot of
the new math. Yeah, well, let me just read you some things on Hooked on Phonics. It really works. More than 5 million parents and teachers have used the program developed by education experts. Hooked on Phonics is the gold standard in teaching kids to read. It builds self-esteem. Helping kids become strong readers can boost their confidence in school and at home. Hooked on Phonics is truly an investment in a child's future. Kids love it. Parents tell us all the time that their kids don't want to stop playing Hooked on Phonics. Children see the fun. Parents see the learning. I mean, this is brilliant here. And
it's so, and like you said, it's so obvious and it's there. How much does it cost? Is it prohibitive in any way?
No, this thing is, your first month's $1. If it costs $20 a month, even if it's $20 a month, I mean, really.
Well, if you got the money, you pay it. If you don't, there's ways to get around it. I want to go back to your reference to homeschooling. I mean, if Flesch in 1955 explained why Johnny can't read, and I think that tipped over all the people who care, and homeschooling got his push from that. You know, they said, well, screw it, we'll keep our kids home and teach them how to read. So that is tied in together. I mean, Flesch explained everything in 1955. Think how long ago it is. Everybody's known. And he just didn't explain it quite. He didn't close the deal. It was a very strange miscalculation. This was a man interested in persuasion and clarity. But with everything in education, you got to explain it 3 times because the education establishment makes everything murky. They are the geniuses at sophistry. It drives me crazy. Yeah. I'm sorry. People feel it I always feel like a kid. Got to get very excited about this stuff, and it's exciting in many different ways. I mean, you got gangsters basically running the school system.
Right.
I mean, intellectual, ideological gangsters, however you want to call them.
Agreed.
Call them.
Agreed. Well, we got to wrap up, Bruce. So just tell us again where we get your book and your personal website. Well,
the website is improve-education.org. And my full name is Bruce Deitrick Price, and the book, which you can get on Amazon like everything else, is Saving K-12, and it's right there all the time. And it's very interesting. He's talking about trolls. There's 9 reviews, 7 of them by normal people, more or less like you and me, who think it's a wonderful book. And then there's 2 from these very nasty people in the education establishment. I mean, the first day it was available to review, this woman in New York who calls herself Manhattan Jewish wrote a 3-page featuring on phonics and saying you didn't need phonics and focusing on all my. It was really amazing how desperate it was. Her job as part of the education establishment is just free. And I mean, like the way they treat Trump, they treat phonics. It's very similar.
Hooked on Trump, hooked on phonics. Hey, it's always a pleasure to have you on, Bruce. Good luck with the book and good luck with the mission. We're on your side, and we'll, wherever possible, get that message out. Any questions or comments for Bruce, myself, KL@KerryLutz.com is the email address. The Twitter feed's at Kerry Lutz, the Facebook page, Financial Survival Network, and visit our site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Sign up for our newsletter. Bruce, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.